So in this step, we're going to go through the process of working in GameMaker Studio and committing the files to our local repository and then pushing the files to our central repository with source tree. So let's create a new file. We're just going to create a script here. Nothing fancy. We'll rename it utils, and we will just add a comment, not even any code. So let's say we've done a bunch of changes in GameMaker Studio. We now need to involve source tree because we want to commit them and push them up to the central repository. Now, just a tip here, do not do tons of work before you commit and push. Always commit and push on a regular basis, say once every hour or even more frequently. So your code is never getting out of step with your team members. If you wait until you've got loads of code and they've got loads of code, then that's when you get into problems because code starts diverging. Conflicts between files have to be managed. The other tip I will give you right here and now is make sure each one of your team is working on different files. Always do not work on the same files because then again you're going to get file conflicts and problems. So manage your team and say, I'll work on sprites and you work on the room, or I'll work on the player and you work on enemies, and make sure you've got your work divided up. Okay, that being said, let's go into source tree and see what it thinks has happened here. So in our view, we've got our tower repository open and we've got a file view, we've got a history view. Remember, we added game files, was the last thing we committed. So in our file status, it will always be live. It will change immediately. The moment you change something in GameMaker, source tree go bang, something's changed. And it will tell you these are the unstaged files here that have been changed. Just to go through them very quickly, if you see a question mark, that means there's been a new file created. And remember, we're dealing with the underlying GameMaker files here, which you don't normally see. So if you create a script, for instance, GameMaker actually creates two files for that, GML and YY. We don't have to worry about that. It just is what it is. And normally also the YYP file and the options file will be changed for every single commit. I'm not sure as yet whether we can somehow ignore these. I don't know. We'll work on that and find out for you. But for the moment, we're just going to commit everything that source tree thinks should be committed. So let's stage. By the way, if you want to see the changes, just click on the file and in the right hand window, it'll show you what's changed. The green is what's changed and the red is what's been deleted. Okay. And if you want to see the contents of the GML file, do the same. The YY file, do the same. So let's stage these files for committing. And then let's commit them and push them in immediately in one step. So this is another good tip. Always put in a decent commit message. If you go back through the history of commits, you often want to see what was done in the last commit. So don't put a load of garbage like this because you won't know what was done. So I'm going to say created a new script file, and that's it. And then I'm going to commit and push in one step, bang. And then we're going to go back into the repository and actually have a look in our commits. Created a new script file, they're done. So let's go into source and there's the scripts. We can even in bitbucket even go and have a look at these things. So let's go back to the main repository page. So that is really how we work in GameMaker and source tree. So we don't have to use the internal source control in GameMaker, which is not quite there yet. It is getting there. I mean, the developers have done a good job, but I think there are improvements to be made before we can safely use it with great confidence. So for the moment, we'll use source tree, which works fantastically. All you really have to do is stage commit, commit and push at the same time. And remember those tips I gave you. Always do a little bit of work and commit it, push it, so your teammates can get the work. Work on different things. Do not work on the same files, and always put in a decent commit message. In the next step, we'll be using bitbucket to invite other team members so they can work with us on the project.